Okay, so welcome to this Google Hangout today. We're with Marcus Pullen from Blue Donut Studios, who's going to be joining us for a short Q&A about him, about his business, and about some of the work that he's been involved with, both as part of the Recreate project and beyond. So I'll be asking a few questions to Marcus, and this will then be going onto YouTube afterwards. So Marcus, I don't know if it's worth you giving a bit of a potted history as to you and how Blue Donut Studios came about.
Yeah, sure. Okay, well, I started a very, very long time ago. In the 80s, I went to art college at the Bournemouth and Paul College of Art and Design. And that's where I started getting involved in computer graphics. So you would have thought that I would have had a long, illustrious career just doing nothing but computer graphics. But that wasn't the case, so I ended up, basically, I've been very lucky. I've done lots of different jobs. When I left Bournemouth and Paul, I went over to Portsmouth University to do media design, and that's when I was doing multimedia development, and IBM very kindly asked me to work for them for a while. So I went over to IBM Hursley, to develop multimedia. Hursley's over just outside of Winchester. So I did that, and then I realised that IBM maybe wasn't quite what I really wanted to do at that stage of my career. So I did a 1-year placement there, and I went back to finish my degree, and then I went to work as a freelance designer, and then I got involved in dealing with oh, have we lost the internet? Hello. Oh, I don't know if
I can hear you. I can hear you. It's okay.
Oh, that's okay then. As long as you can hear me. So I then basically got involved in publishing and business software. I set up Aspen Interactive with a small team. Which Aspen's a software company in Romsey, and we developed Intercell e-commerce, and I did that for 10 years. I basically got to the point where I thought I really want to do something else, and a good friend of mine said, well, can you do me some pictures? He was into Star Wars, so I did some Star Wars stuff, and we really got into doing that. And I ended up doing lots of commissions, sketch cards, and I'd always been doing animation and various bits and pieces over the years. And then I got to the point I thought, right, that's it. I've got to do something. So then I heard about a thing called the Tech Hub, which hadn't started. It was just a rumour. And somebody said to me, oh, this sounds really good. I was part of a small group of Unity designers and artists and developers that were working out of the Point. We were just getting together socially, and Alistair Lamb, who set up Frugal Spark, spoke to me and said, this looks really interesting. So a few of us went along, and cut long story short, I ended up helping out a lot and became a founder member, which helped me really kind of make the push to set up Blue Donut Studios. And we've been very, very blessed. We've worked with some fantastic people. I've worked with Love Love Films over in Bournemouth, and we worked with Joss Stone on The Love We Had. So I was the storyboard artist for that, and worked with a director and a brilliant script writer, and that's become, I think, our most successful video to date. I've worked on our own creations, so we developed an animation called The Last Dead End, which was featured on Shortcuts to Hell, which is a film competition. We were a finalist, and we're on a DVD that's available through iTunes and various other places, I'm sure. We're subsequently taking that further. We've created a motion comic in HTML5, which is available free to watch and have a look at on bluedonutstudios.com. And we're working on some very exciting projects this year. We're looking at virtual reality and working with Sasha Lee at The Point. We're setting up a new animation and live action short, which is a science fiction short called Beth. We have a fabulous dancer, Hayley Barker, coming on board. We've got Marina Morales Moya, the film director, on board, and we have Nevis, the motorcycle parts and accessories, on board as well. And that might not make any sense whatsoever. So I just have to watch our Facebook and website to find out more about that animation. But we're with the help of Sasha, we're looking to get funding from Creative Arts Council for that. So that's keeping us busy. We've got Project Agincourt, which we're very excited to be part of that, developing ideas from tabletop games through to a digital strategy using augmented reality for posters, all kinds of stuff. So I have to say, we've just been so busy. It's been brilliant.
So as a sort of growing business, how do you split your time between in-house projects that you do not for fun but as a sort of raising awareness of Blue Donut Studios and the work that you do versus the time you spend for clients doing projects for them? Is it the case that you perhaps don't get as much time as you would like to do your own ad hoc kind of things, or is there a competition for your time for both of those?
There is competition for time. When you're on your own, you've got to bring the money in, obviously. So you've got to work on jobs, but you've got to balance it with being able to innovate, be creative. Sitting down and just drawing for a start, that's very difficult to find the time to do that when you've got to raise invoices, pay bills, do tax, talk to solicitors and all of that kind of stuff, look at strategy, do marketing. I'm lucky I've got a network of artists that work with me who I know I can assign things to and get work done. I've got fantastic partners with Winchester Innovation, Nick and Brian. They work with me on developing software. So that's really good. But the idea of creating content was something I always wanted to do. So yes, it's very difficult, but you have to plan out things in advance and just go for it. That's all you can really do. Do as much as you can without burning out.
Okay. I mean, one of the things I'm really interested in is that from the work that I've done over the past maybe 3 or 4 years, there seems to be a lot of kind of brand storytelling agencies appearing. The idea that every organisation, whether it's a company or charity or not-for-profit, whatever it may be, can use digital media and video and animation as a really good means of communicating the story of who they are and their brand. I suppose the bit that I'm interested in is if you're into screenwriting, you might look to a more sort of formal, structured source like Robert McKee as a guide for what makes a good story when you have much longer to play with. But if you're an organisation that wants to make use of animation and try and communicate something in quite a short space of time for the internet, firstly, how do you approach a project, but also how do you distill your story down into just a few minutes, if you like, and how can an organisation communicate a brand story through animation?
Yeah, for a company that wants to try and do it themselves, and I think that's a good thing to at least have a look at the logistics of doing your own video before actually talking to other people. The key thing is know who your audience is, know what your message is. That is loaded with exactly what you want people to do. It's a classic thing in marketing and advertising, is as you see so many things that look fantastic, so many great campaigns, but then and web. This is the thing that is crucial: is know what you want to say, know who you want to say it to, and know what you want them to do after they've seen what you want to do. And then thereafter, it's about the nuances of engagement, follow-up, tracking. The quality of content is important. But there's one thing that's for sure, is that content is vital. Really good content. That's not going to go away. So technology may change, but storytelling for a company is even more important. There's so much noise on the internet now of competing products, globalization. You've got to have something that can capture your audience's imagination, make them feel affinity to your brand, and make them understand where you're coming from, so that they want to be part of what you're offering.
So, with that in mind, if I were a company that wanted to consider using video or animation or short film as part of my marketing collateral, at what stage do you, well, firstly, at what stage do people typically approach you? Is it once they have an idea, once they have that in mind, or do they come much earlier and ask you to help shape their thinking? And the second part of that is, what's best? Is it better to come to you, very early on and say, this is what we want to do, how do we do it, or what consideration have they had to go through to get the most out of your work before they brief you, as it were?
I would say the best way is to come right at the beginning, to start at the idea. The main reason for that, I think, is because then you can make the most of your budget. Because if you're creating collateral, you're creating creative assets for an animation, then there should be planning there to say, okay, well, we've created graphics. How else can we use those? We've created a narrative. What parts of the narrative should we carry across into other media? So into print campaigns, radio, TV, interactive, emails. So if you start at the beginning saying, okay, well, first of all, where is our audience? How do they behave? I think that's the thing that really good marketing or just general communication engagement is where you've identified your audience. You know who they are. It's like telling a story. Writers will say it's always best to write from what you know, even when you're writing science fiction. There are key aspects of things that if you build upon your experience, it just works a lot better because you're making a convincing world. And it's the same with any marketing strategy. If you've got people involved that know what they're talking about, they understand the audience, they really do get them. And when I say about understanding the audience, it's more than just doing a couple of surveys. It's really building a good picture and actually talking to customers and finding out what they like, what motivates them. Because if you've got that intelligence and you're starting off with understanding about strategic deployment, understanding about audience engagement, then the rest of it should, in theory, fall in place.
Okay, and I've got quite a difficult technical question for you as well, which is, do you think that there's a general apprehension about video content as part of what you might deem to be a marketing material, on the basis that people tend to obsess over marketing as a traffic generator for their business, and video is partly about brand awareness and not necessarily about driving people away from, say, YouTube to a website. Actually, it's about raising awareness of a brand and engagement in YouTube or whatever, the Vimeo, whatever it might be itself. Do you think that's, or have you witnessed that being a general problem? Do you think people are a bit reticent about video because it's something that's difficult to measure back to some commercial activity?
Well, yeah, the short answer. The reason for that, I think, is many. So a lot of people will be put off by the fear of something they've not done before, the presumed cost, and providers such as Brightcove can give you valuable insight to how well your strategy is working. You can also design your video with key points so that you know if somebody's watching something, they at a certain point they're obviously getting it. So if you're finding thousands of people are watching the video, but they're dropping off after a second, then it's not working, obviously. But if you're finding you've got a smaller number and they're staying all the way through to the end, and that's the other thing is, it's classic advertising is you can't do one advert in a magazine. You have to have a whole campaign, and it's ambience. Video is far more interesting because you can make video interactive, you can deploy video in different channels, subsets of video. Oh dear, I think I've disappeared. Well, that's all I'm going to say on that then. Oh, I'm back.
No, it's okay, I can hear you. I think it's a pretty patchy internet connection, but hopefully you can hear me. My final question then is, if a creative enterprise or a larger organization is thinking about video or animation or some kind of storytelling content, how can they get in touch with you? What should they do?
Website, bluedonutstudios.com. There's a contact form there. But I would say have a talk with us first. Tell us about what you're passionate about. What you might be through to, you might be a veteran at this and you've done it before. That's obviously that's great. But I would always say the first thing is we need to understand where you're coming from and what your message is. And I think just talking to us for a start is a great way of working out what it is. So, like when you're starting off a small business, we always say you need to have an elevator pitch. So, what is it that you do? And that might sound a bit tired, but it's not, because it helps sharpen up the mind. So having that first conversation is important. Then we look at what is the overall campaign, what are the objectives you want out of it. Do we want more people to go to the website? Do we want, obvious things like we want people to buy our product more? And then you say, well, what are the problems? What's not working is good to find out, obviously, and what also works well, and see what we can do to make that working well even better. Is that good grammar? In any case, so talk to us. That's the first. Just talk to us, and that doesn't cost anything. Then what we would want to do is develop a strategy with you. I've always been of the school of education in terms of the client. You learn from the client, and the client should learn from you to get a good long-term relationship, so that they'll know, well, we know that Blue Donut Studios can do this, we know we can talk to them. We build up a vernacular so that we understand where the client's coming from, we understand their industry, and the reason we're good at that is simply down to the fact that we listen.
Okay, cool. And just in case anyone missed it because of the slightly patchy internet connection, can you remind us the website address for Blue Donut Studios is?
www.bluedonutstudios.com, and that's the American spelling donut, so do nut.
Perfect. Okay, well, thank you very much. And any questions, send them through to Marcus. Thank you.
Thanks.